Welcome back to the Church Chat. It's Journey On with Pastor Karl and Jim. We're here talking about everything that's happening with Journey Fellowship in Fargo and in Bismarck. And Sunday, just yesterday, so it's the 24th of March today, but just yesterday, Pastor Karl, you had a tough time getting to Bismarck. And I'm assuming you made it home because that looks like your office.
Yeah, here I am.
Okay.
Yeah, the first 90 miles are right in around Jamestown. There was just enough snow, and it was just cool enough, and there was a crosswind, so things were kind of freezing, and nobody seemed to be driving too crazy. So I hung with the plows, and
That's a good plan.
Yeah. Two hands on the wheel. I mean, I never thought like, oh, my life's in danger, but there wasn't enough snow. I think if I would have gone in the ditch, I could have probably driven out, but who wants to go in the ditch? So yeah, it was interesting, especially since I was in a t-shirt 2 days prior, working outside in a t-shirt, and then you're thinking, blizzard? So yeah.
Well, and if it's going to happen, it'll happen in that stretch of road. So
that's true. That's
honestly,
true.
It's surprised it doesn't happen more often. But yeah, well, glad you made it. And we had fantastic message this last week, still on New Phone Who Dis, and we talked about. And I keep getting the names mixed around, Martha and Mary. The story was about Martha, who it turns out isn't necessarily a busybody. She's not necessarily the bad guy.
Right? No, I wouldn't call either one of them a bad guy. Well, they're both women, but
also fair.
But there's no villain in the story. It's just and I think a lot of people should, if they don't, should really connect with Martha. I think Mary is the exception to the rule, where she always finds a place at Jesus' feet. She's always in submission. She's always open, devoted. And I think we all want, as Christians, we want to be like Mary. But I think more often than we'd probably care to admit, we identify with Martha, even though when we read the story, we're like, Martha, what? It's Jesus. Why didn't you just go? I think we can all identify with her more easily than we can with Mary. Although we want to be Mary, we end up being a little more like Martha. So I'm really glad, and I know everybody should be, that Jesus was so loving in his response to her and just redirecting, not rebuking, not penalizing, not punishing, just redirecting.
And I think taking that the message helped. For me, it helped take the sting out of what I've always thought of Martha's situation, because I had always thought that, well, what's up with her? That term busybody had always been in my mind about that situation. Yep. So it was good to hear it from a different perspective, and cool. And I think you're right. I love pudding. I love pudding. I do chocolate pudding. I love butterscotch. I don't know why I had to say that there, but I also love pudding.
You might have to give me a second. That was amazing. Oh my gosh. That came out of nowhere.
It did for me too. I don't know. Sometimes we're just inspired, I guess. I love putting the stories from the Bible into today's terms. Like what would happen if this were happening now? And for me, a lot of times it comes back to this is Jesus, and we know what that means now, but being there at that time, if something like that were to happen, how would we respond then? And I think you hit it right on the head. I would probably be so engaged in the social situation that it would be hard to really focus on sitting at the feet of Jesus and really listening. And one other thing that I wanted to talk a bit about. You said it was the New King James Version of Luke 10, verse 39, talked about Mary also sitting at the feet of Jesus. And it was interesting to me because I took it a little bit differently in terms of the message that we heard, that we talked about on Saturday and Sunday, was Mary did other things and then also sat at the feet of Jesus. So she was helping. She was doing things, helping set the table and making sure people had places to be and all that. And I had read that as Mary was at the feet of Jesus also, as in with other people, that there were also other people there. And I've always thought of it in those terms that it wasn't just her, it was others also. So to
Right.
think of it, and I guess I don't know with I haven't gone back to read the original Greek or try to understand it at any
Sure.
greater depth, but I wanted to use that as an example of one simple word and a word that you took specifically to talk about in the message. That one word, not only can it be really important, but it can still also be read in different ways to different people. And
Yeah.
it's no wonder that we're a confused and crazy species when it comes to language, right?
Right. Oh, for sure. No,
Yeah.
that's a great point. So also, it was difficult to that's a really difficult word to keep adding things onto because the
Mhm.
word you use to add on is also. So when you're
Right.
adding on to also, and you're exactly right. So that also means it's actually kind of threefold. It means Mary was sitting at the feet of Jesus, and she also had served. She had
Mhm.
helped her sister. And like we said, culturally, that just, we absolutely know that's how it is. Nobody's
Sure.
getting out of the culture. You can't buck your culture, right?
Hmm.
And so she also helped. She also was doing something that men were specifically
Hmm.
engaging in doing. Women were not invited to sit at the feet of a rabbi or a teacher, right? That
Hmm.
just wasn't done. So that's an also. And the third also is there were the other disciples and followers of Jesus were listening, were at his feet, and so she also was. So it's a fantastic word
Hmm.
uh, that has like at least three plays to it. So I'm glad you caught all that stuff. And as long as we don't get too hung up on no, it has to mean this. Um, any one of
Right.
those
Right.
three, any one of those three is going to read really, really well.
Hmm.
But when you bring the culmination together, like now that picture just really comes to life for me when you start looking at all the different ways that also plays into that.
Speaking of that picture coming to life, that just triggered in my mind. I saw today that The Chosen, the
Oh,
series The Chosen, is
yep.
on Amazon Prime now.
Oh,
They
really?
have it, so it's available in multiple ways. I know you can get it through their app, but to see that it's on regular streaming services now was
Yeah.
pretty cool to me. And I've watched a couple seasons, but I haven't. I mean, I have a good idea how the story goes, but I think I'd like to continue watching that. I don't know if that's something that I know at one point we had a grow group that was watching through it,
Okay.
kind of talking about what was happening in each episode. But anyway, that when you set a picture of it, and we talked about having that picture in our mind, that's obviously a good way to get that picture
Yeah.
is watch that series. What a cool thing.
It is
So
cool. Can I talk about that for one
please,
second?
yeah, please
I,
do.
I've been asked a few times by different people what my take is on that, and my take is, and I'm not trying to be profound or really any. I'm just trying to be honest. If
Mhm.
if it gets people interested in the gospel, and I think I can say this broad scale, broad brush. If
Mhm.
it gets people interested in the gospel, the true gospel, I guess I'm all for it. Now, if when we're reading through the Bible, and like you just said, when we're looking at the original Greek, we're looking at the original Hebrew or Aramaic, and we're piecing together and we're cross-referencing, reading, we're studying the Bible. When we're doing that, I don't I don't see if somebody has already done that type of work for themselves and they're producing a show
Mhm.
that has to be interesting, it has to be, Disney has to have there has to be a bad guy and a good guy and a
Right.
climax, and
Right.
there has to be all that stuff, and the Bible absolutely has
Right.
all that stuff. God is good, devil's bad. We know that.
Mhm.
But I just might, me personally, when I watch, and I haven't watched a season or anything, but I've watched a couple episodes, and I find myself actually asking more often than not, now where did they get all this dialogue? Because
Mhm.
there's a lot of extra dialogue, and it is interesting, and I believe that whoever researched it probably is following, there's all kinds of historians and stuff. I just really want people, if it gets people interested, fantastic. But I
Right.
hope they're interested enough to go, now I'm going to go back and see what was added and what the real, story is,
Right.
and so that's my take on that. I'm not saying it's bad by any means. I wouldn't say I'm a fan or not a fan. I just haven't
Yeah, it
get enough
exists.
time.
Yeah. And
But
it's an interpretation, and I think that's an important thing
exactly.
too.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
it could be, and I wouldn't consider that to be a version of the New Testament. It's a version of the story of Jesus, and
Right.
we have even different versions of the New Testament, like we just talked about, King James, New King James, and there are differences even among those two, much less some of the more current translations. So yeah, there's
Right.
a lot of variances out there for sure. And I'm with you. I'm analytical a lot of times when I watch uh, movies and shows, and I'm the guy that's trying to figure out the who done it throughout the entire show,
Yeah. Oh
that
yeah.
kind of thing. So uh, watching it, I'm looking for those too. Like, well, how was that part of the Bible? Was that something I didn't read and they included that? So it gets me questioning a lot of things too,
Yeah.
as a story and something. Just the idea that it can be mainstream now, I guess, is what brought to mind that's pretty
Yeah.
incredible because
Yep.
I know, and I've heard other people talk about this too. There's a lot of terrible Christian media out there,
Oh yeah. Oh
low
yeah.
budget,
Yep.
and good intentions by all means, but I've written music and nobody else should ever hear it, right? That same thing happens in all
Sure.
types of media.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So all right. Well, anyway, thank you. That was a good side conversation. We've got coming up this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. And you mentioned earlier that you will be in both locations,
I
live and in
will. Yes.
person, as long as spring doesn't lie to us again. Should
Right.
be good to
Right.
go. And it was cool. I don't know if you did this in Fargo, but in Bismarck, you did one of the classic teases in giving presentations, and you said you got a cool one coming up that you're really excited about. So
I
do
am really
tell.
excited.
We're all on pins and needles now. What's coming
Okay.
up this coming
Yeah.
weekend? What's our next new phone who dis character?
Okay. Our next new phone Whodis character is found in Acts 26, the book of Acts, chapter 26. And I would encourage people to read that. And again, we joke about, well, just read the whole Bible. This one, if you wanted to really research where he comes from and kind of his lineage, you're there's a lot of information in the Bible specifically. So I would start at least halfway through 25,
All
chapter
right.
25 of Acts, and make it through 26. And you might even want to squeeze in a little bit into 27.
Sure.
Um, and we're going to be talking about, I'm going to reference 25 and reference 27. And to get through all of 26, uh, I'm going to do a lot of paraphrasing, but I just really, I
Mm.
think it's when somebody's referencing something, if you've already read it, it all seems familiar or it has
Mm.
a better chance of sticking. So I just want to encourage everyone to do that because we're going to be talking about King Agrippa II.
King Agrippa the
King,
Second. Sounds like something that would have been on late night TV infomercials.
yeah,
It's King Agrippa, and it's
yeah,
better. It's King Agrippa the Second. It
that
keeps
would be
all
a
of your
Ron
glue.
Popeil product, right?
Yeah,
Ron,
exactly.
never
Yeah.
Ron Popeil.
But
King
wait, there's
Agrippa.
more. It comes with Ginsu knife, of course.
Yeah, and world's smallest juicer. You have to. Yeah, yeah.
So now that we've torn that apart, what's it actually about? Yeah, what are we actually talking? King Agrippa the Second. What's
King Agrippa II.
what's his
So
deal? Yeah.
this is an amazing story, and more often than not, we focus in on Paul because what this story is about is Paul is being held prisoner because he's offended the Jews because he keeps talking about Jesus, and
Hmm.
we all kind of know that the Jews want him dead. And there's Felix, the governor Felix, actually doesn't know what to do with him, so what to do with Paul, so he just keeps
Hmm.
him in prison.
Oh,
He
right.
hasn't
Yep.
done anything wrong, just keeps him
Okay.
in prison for two
Hmm.
years. And actually, because of Felix's actions, he's demoted, called back to Rome, and then Festus
Hmm.
comes in, and every time people of a certain age hear Festus, we all think Gunsmoke.
Yep.
Different Festus.
Yeah.
And
Fair enough. Yeah.
well, I can't say that for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's a different Festus. And and then Festus is the governor, so he's got this prisoner Paul, and he doesn't know what to do. So he kind of brings in this king, King Agrippa, and he says, "Look, Paul wants to go uh, appeal his case before the Caesar, which would be, and we
Hmm.
know this time frame was Nero.
Oh,
And anyone that knows anything about history,
really, really good
Nero's an evil
violinist.
guy,
Yeah.
right? And we'll talk a little bit about that. So basically, Paul goes into this, and the Bible says an auditorium filled with royalty and the higher ups and wealth and
Hmm.
snobbery and all that stuff. And he takes it as an opportunity not to really defend himself, but to try and save their souls.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a fantastic story, but there's some very Dateline 48 hours type stuff with King Agrippa and his sister
Oh,
that
all
I
right.
believe is really pertinent to the story, and it actually is a driving force in King Agrippa's decisions
Hmm.
and how he and focus. We'll say focus again because we talked about that last week.
Yeah.
But it has a lot to do with how he's living his life at the time. So I'm really excited to present that message.
I very rarely would ask this, but I need a spoiler. Is
Okay.
King Agrippa saved in the end? Do we have a good news at the end of this one, or don't we know how he turned out?
Well, I can't officially answer that. If we
Okay, all
go
right.
by what if we go by what the scripture just tells us,
Hmm.
um, from what we read, he is not at that time.
At that time,
At
gotcha.
that time.
Yeah.
But
All
we
right.
know that Jesus can do amazing
Sure.
things in the flash of the blink of an eye, that more things than we could do in 100 lifetimes. So
Hmm.
so is King Agrippa saved?
We'll find
I
out,
sure hope
but not
so.
Sunday, probably.
Hope not Sunday.
I mean,
It
there's a
might take a little
chance.
longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or
There's a chance.
Saturday. Yeah.
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 And what's really cool about that, and I'm really glad you asked that, is that is part of the focus.
Mm.
Paul goes through, and one of the amazing things about this story is Paul goes through and he says, look, this is who I was. And we all kind of know Saul, the character of
Hmm.
Saul. He was a bad guy. I mean, he was a Christian killer. He hunted him, tortured
Right.
him, and he says all that in this testimony, in this what we're going to be reading on Saturday, Sunday. And what we should be taking from that is he's speaking to King Agrippa and Beatrice's sister and Felix and Festus and Nero. He's and this whole auditorium full of people. He's telling them it's never too late,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's never too late. And as long as you have breath in your lungs, Jesus can save you. Because he and Paul would say, because he saved me. And if
Mm.
he can save me, he can save anyone. And that's basically the gist. So I'm really glad you brought that up
Amen.
because yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I would love that everybody reread about the Bible's in heaven. I think that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, well, great. And Acts 25, second half, and Acts 26,
Yep,
great
yep.
opportunity to read ahead.
Hmm.
And yeah, so I think that's about what we have going on.
Okay.
It's an odd, literally fifth Saturday and fifth Sunday. I don't know of
Yep,
anything that's happening specifically. We're continuing to grow. That's our word and our mindset for 2025.
yep, yep,
And always some fantastic opportunities to invite folks to come in. I know you mentioned it at the service on Sunday, the idea that Easter is coming up. It's April 20th, and then the 19th. I'm guessing that you'll have a Easter service in
yep.
Fargo on the 19th, and then in Bismarck on the 20th. Just a great time to invite people in. I know in Bismarck that just happens to fall on Potluck Sunday, which we always talk about as a great opportunity to bring folks in anyway. So,
Yeah,
good things coming up and good things happening now. Any final thoughts as we wrap up the
yeah.
show today? Yeah.
I do have a final thought. I'm gonna stretch this final moment a little bit and
Oh,
make it
excellent.
a final challenge.
Oh,
If you
all right. Bring it
I
on.
went to my wife and I went to Rend Collective,
Oh,
and
mhm.
and we've done a couple of their songs. I know in Fargo. I don't know if you guys, if we've, I don't think I've ever done any Rend Collective, but
Mhm.
they're a great Christian band, high energy,
Mhm.
just a lot of fun. Every song they sang last night, except one they said, "This is new, you won't know this." I knew every song
Oh, is that, so, oh, this was last night you went.
last night,
Oh,
and
wow.
uh,
Yeah. All
and the
right.
lead singer has just a fantastic Irish accent, and he was talking about a challenge that a therapist had given him because he battled depression. And he challenged everyone there. And so my wife and I were there. We talked about it on the way home. He said what his therapist, actually, what he said was, I'm going to give you some free advice. And if you want to pay me $225 afterward, that's up to you. So I thought, I'm going to listen. And
Yeah.
he said he starts his day and has now, since his therapist challenged him to do it, by writing down in his journal 5 things he's grateful for.
Mm.
And I've done that before,
Yeah.
and I'm sure a lot of people have. The twist is no repeats.
Oh boy. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is a challenge. Five
when you get
things
30
that I'm
days
grateful
in,
for.
and
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
think so I'm only one day in, but and I
You
didn't
still
have to
have
think
things.
too hard.
Okay,
But
good. Yeah.
you know,
I
yeah,
got stuck
right.
at
Call
three,
Jim up.
man.
Jim, I need a couple. Give me two. Um,
Do
but
you have
I
any
just thought,
hangnails right now? Because if you don't have a hangnail, that's a thing to be grateful for.
yeah, it sure is. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. So I just challenge people to just try
that's
that and
awesome. Yeah,
see, if you can go 10 days and you're just still cranking them out, that's
it's a
fantastic,
great life.
but
Yeah.
just talk about a mindset,
Mm.
things that I'm grateful for. And so my wife and I, we were talking about it again this morning, and I said, I don't think I'm going to go with the standard stuff. I'm gonna save some of my standard stuff for a few days,
Keep
maybe a day.
keep a few aces in your pocket for those days you wake
Right.
up really not feeling it. Like,
Honey, you're
my
like day
lungs
10,
work.
okay?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna save my lungs work until I'm just not I didn't sleep well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good
I
challenge.
love
I
it.
thought it was a good
But
challenge.
yeah, that is really good. So, and I would like to talk. I know this is, and it's funny because we call this a final thoughts, and it's intended so that we can wind down and wrap up
Yeah.
and go. But I have to ask about this because what is it? What is it as being a human being? And I know I share this with a lot of people that stops us from writing things down. I know it helps. I know it's important. I know it's useful. I've done it, and I've had absolutely great results.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to stop doing it and not do it. It's like working out, right? All of these things that we
Yeah.
know are good for us, writing things down, not just thinking about it. Because my first thought was, oh, I'm gonna cheat a little bit. I'm gonna do it, but I'm only gonna think about those 5 things that I'm grateful for, and it'll be fine. I probably won't repeat many of them. I've got a pretty good memory, so it'll be fine. No, if we're gonna write them down, we need to write them down. Why do
Yeah.
we not do that? What is it that stops us from doing the things we know are good for us?
Wow, that is
Mm.
how much time do we have? I'm not even sure
Yeah.
that's an excellent question.
Yeah.
What does stop us from, and I'm sure there's a busyness
Mm.
obviously that goes along with that. Part one of the things while you were asking that is um, there's a permanence to it. When you write something
Right.
down, when you
Right.
there's that's a permanence.
Hmm.
Thoughts, they come and go. You write something down, that's a real deal.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's a record, depending
Hmm.
on what you're writing down. Be careful, but
Right.
yeah, I think there's probably an ego and pride thing where like you were kind of alluding to. I'll
Hmm.
just do it in my head.
Right.
I've got
Right.
this.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's probably a bunch of different reasons, but that's a really good question.
Yeah. And it's one that I think we all share, and it's probably we'll have the answer to that at the same time that we learn about King Agrippa's fate,
Hmm.
if he was saved or not. We'll have
Yeah.
that moment that,
Yep.
oh, it all makes sense now. And oh,
Yeah.
hey, good to see you. You know
You
that.
did. All right.
Yeah, yeah, good for you, man.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, that's a great challenge. We continue to add these in if anybody would like to talk about any of these
Yep.
subjects further, and share this with other people. We sure love it. This is a fantastic part of our week. We're happy that you're able to share with us, and we'll hopefully see you soon. God bless and take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.